Let's get one thing straight. If you're watching this, you probably think you've heard every HOA horror story in the book, but you haven't heard mine. I'm the guy who stared down a whole damn homeowners association and won. Or at least I walked away with my land, my freedom, and a hard-earned lesson about just how far some folks will go when they think they can bend the rules in their favor. I'll tell it straight, just like it happened. No breaks, no speeches, just a real story from a man who never figured on being anyone's cautionary tale. 15 years back, when folks were stampeding to cul-de-sacs and cookie-cutter neighborhoods, I did the opposite. Bought myself 6 acres out in North Carolina, thick with pine, tucked so far out that even the squirrels got lost sometimes. My idea of a good time was a porch, a good rifle, and not hearing a single soul for miles. No sidewalks, no neon vests, no HOA newsletters blowing onto my lawn. It was quiet, real quiet. And I respected the lines. Property lines, sure, but the kind you can't see, to the ones that keep folks civil. My name's Ensign Mayfield. 44, used to run fire investigations out in Nashville till the politics choked out the job. Now it's just me, a one-story timber home. I built myself a pump house, solar panels, and a whole mess of trail cams feeding a server vault I wired together on a rainy weekend. I didn't want trouble, and I sure as hell didn't want anyone's rules but my own. That's how it went right up until Clear Pines HOA started sniffing around. On paper, they had no claim on me. Their boundary ended a football field east of my fence. But power's a funny thing. People like to pretend lines don't matter when there's something they want. Their queen bee was Karen Vincent, real name, not a joke, always dressed like she was heading up a bake sale and Stepford clipboard glued to her hand. At first, it was just little things. Newsletters in my mailbox, drone buzzing too low. Then came the letter cordially inviting me to voluntarily join their HOA for the sake of community harmony. Even included a contract already filled out. According to them, my place was disrupting the aesthetic and presenting a safety deviation. Whatever the hell that meant. I burned the letter. Next day, got another. This one slid under my gate unsigned. Neglecting to align with community standards may result in neighborhood action. Now, I'm not jumpy, but you threaten my peace, you get my attention. Next thing I know, there are surveyor stakes with hot pink flags staked into my southern border HOA logo waving in the breeze. Motion lights tripped at 3 a.m., caught silhouettes just standing there on camera lurking by the fence. No vandalism, not yet, but the message was clear. We're watching you. So I did what anyone raised in Carolina would do. Put up new private property, not subject to HOA signs, made them out of steel just to drive it home. 3 nights later, I'm cleaning my shotgun when I hear tapping, not on the door, on the fence. I step outside and find a manila envelope duct taped to a post. Inside, final warning from Clear Pines, accusations of unsanctioned lighting outbuildings and visual nonconformity. Again, not a member. Never was, never will be. I went to the county and pulled the land plats. My borders hadn't budged in 30 years. This land predates their HOA by 2 decades. As far as I'm concerned, I'm my own country out here. But they weren't done. A week later, I catch Karen herself parked outside my fence, snapping photos of my house. When I step out, she jumps, starts rambling about irregularities and grass ordinances. I told her to move along before the sprinklers turned on, didn't have to bluff, worked just fine. Then came more stakes inside the fence right by the panel box. That told me everything. They wanted a fight, so I locked things down, reinforced the fence, buried spikes, installed backup batteries, rotated the cams. Wasn't paranoia. It was preparation. See, people like Karen don't care about harmony, they care about control. And they were about to find out I wasn't built to bend. I wasn't alone, though. My neighbor Lucille Sharp, as a tack widowed, lived up the ridge, called me one morning. She'd seen 3 men flashlights climbing my fence around 3 a.m. Not utility workers, hoodies, duffel bags sneaking out a different way than they came in. Sure enough, I find fresh boot prints, brambles, slashed clean and blurry shapes on camera 1 with bolt cutters. Reconnaissance, not vandalism. That same week, a compliance inspection notice appears under my wiper at the grocery. Someone had already checked voluntary access granted. I hadn't signed squat. Started digging into their bylaws, found a clause that gave them aesthetic evaluation over neighboring properties in the event of neighborhood concern. They'd written themselves a fake badge, and now they figured they could play cop. When the forged signature showed up, I called Royce Collier, a litigator ex-Marine tough as barbed wire. He sent a cease and desist, attached evidence of the forgery, and reminded them impersonating a landowner is a felony. Officially, nothing came back. Unofficially, they doubled down. A code enforcement officer showed up, said they had complaints about chemical storage, wouldn't say from whom. I showed him the shed, everything labeled, locked up to code. He apologized and left, poor guy. Then it got juvenile teenagers throwing rocks, flyers in the mailbox join, or be the reason for our downfall. Karen even started telling folks at the HOA meetings I was some kind of prepper extremist, claimed I was dangerous, me a tax-paying, church-going former firefighter. The sheriff listened, but without threats or proof, their hands were tied. So I put spikes at the entry points, silent alarm on my watch, and watched the perimeter like a hawk. I knew where this was heading. Sooner or later, they'd stop testing the fence and go right through it. That night, I wasn't asleep. I was at the kitchen table, coffee cold, watching cam feeds. At 2:23 a.m., my watch buzzed South Line. I saw 3 heat signatures moving low-coordinated, not kids. I grabbed the shotgun, stayed low, kept the house between me and the fence. Heard metal on metal whispering. Caught them folding the fence back, one at the panel with bolt cutters, another on lookout third holding a portable generator. Not intimidation, sabotage. I stepped into the moonlight voice, steady drop, everything. Hands up. They froze, then scattered. One tripped hard. I heard bone crack. He tried to crawl off but didn't get far. Next to him, HOA badge name and all. I called the sheriff, reported the sabotage, gave them everything, tools footage badge. Deputies took statements, bagged evidence, left before sunrise. Lucille called me, said she caught the whole thing on video, zoomed in clear as day, recognized Jared Benton, the HOA's vice president. This wasn't just Karen with a clipboard. This was organized, sanctioned. 12 hours later, Clear Pines HOA filed a lawsuit against me, said I'd threatened authorized inspectors with a firearm, obstructed the lawful duties of a regulatory body. I almost laughed at the audacity. By noon, Karen was on TV playing the victim. Said they were doing a routine electrical inspection and I'd threatened lives. Left out the part about cutting my fence, the generator, or that their regulatory body had zero legal authority here. The media went wild, painted me as a recluse with a troubled past. The deputies came back this time more cautious, wanting to walk the scene. I showed them everything, the fence tools, cam footage, verbal warnings. No threats, just lawful defense. Ramirez, the deputy, watched the footage and shook her head. Funny way to inspect electricity. Didn't stop the HOA next day. I got served with a restraining order, demand to seize my weapons, accusations of unstable terrain and community danger. Included a forged memo with my name at the bottom. Royce saw it, called me. They're flipping the board. Make you look dangerous. Everything else is noise. The real twist, Lucille showed up mad as a hornet. She had balcony footage, faces, clear audio of Jared saying if we kill the feed, he'll fold. That night, Royce filed a countersuit, trespass, sabotage, forgery, harassment. He also ordered the HOA to preserve all their emails and records. Right after I got an anonymous email, "You didn't have to make this hard." That's when I knew they weren't in control anymore. They were panicking. 3 days later, a junior inspector, Milo, Karen's nephew, contacted Royce, said he hadn't signed up to break laws, brought a flash drive full of emails, budget sheets, orders, internal chats, plans to recapture my land force, a hostile takeover for a service road, even a marked map route cutting right through my wellhead. I thanked him, told him to keep his head down. Media tide started turning. Royce and I went live on Charlotte News. He dropped all the receipts, my real records, commendations, the sabotage plot. Lucille's footage aired, faces clear, Jared front and center. Public opinion flipped overnight. But Clear Pines got desperate, spray-painted my fence, filled my truck handles with expanding foam. Cams caught the culprit and HOA landscaper face visible. Evidence stacked up. Prosecutor took the case fraud, conspiracy, sabotage. Milo brought more emails, plans to scrub records, hire consultants. I backed up everything to a secure server, sent copies to Royce and reporters. If I vanished, they'd all get the files. 2 a.m. Molotov through my kitchen window. I doused it, caught the landscaper on cam again. Sheriff got a warrant within hours. FBI raided the HOA office. Benton was arrested trying to flee with a bag full of shredded docks. Karen went ghost, then showed up for her indictment: conspiracy, fraud, sabotage, obstruction. Tried to blame it on overzealous volunteers. Not convincing, not when your VP's caught red-handed. In court, I told it straight, just the facts. Lucille played her footage. Milo testified emails, laid it all bare. Defense tried to say I was paranoid, provoking trouble. Then Royce played the nightcam footage of me giving warnings, standing my ground. Jury saw who crossed the line. Verdict: Karen guilty on all counts. Benton guilty. The arsonist guilty. Board members guilty. Damages awarded over $1 million for trespass, sabotage, distress. HOA dissolved charter, revoked funds seized. My name's now on a state bill protecting folks from HOA overreach, the Mayfield provision. I never asked for that, but I'll take it. After all was said and done, neighbors came to me with questions. How did I stand up? How'd I win? I always told them, you don't have to be loud. You just have to hold your ground. Lucille got voted head of the new community council. She grumbled, but she took it. First thing they did was replace the old sign. This community respects property, privacy, and people. I like that. Spring came. I rebuilt the fence, reburied the conduits, set up backup power. Because out here you learn it's not paranoia if they're really after you. Royce wrote a book. Milo started fresh out west. As for me, I'm still here. Still fishing, still fixing the shed, still watching the woods, but sleeping a little easier. Last thing I did, hung a sign at the gate, burned into oak. This is not HOA land. This is not their authority. And it never will be. Because you don't need a fence to know where your property begins. You just need people to remember where it ends. Now let me ask you, where would you draw the line? Drop your story in the comments. Tell me what's your idea of justice, and have you ever had to stand up when everyone else just folded? I want to hear how you held your ground.